Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Let's Chat. Today, we're going to be talking about creating space for conversation, particularly people who use their passion and their platforms to create space for conversation about issues related to social impact. I'm going to play a quick intro right here and give a few folks a chance to join us, and we'll launch into the conversation from there.
I always like to create an environment where people feel comfortable to ask questions. You don't always know what you don't know. You may not have it all figured out today, and that's okay. Taking one step at a time, those glimmers become a consistent light. It all finally begins to click. Each and every moment that you experience is shaping the person you are in this life to be.
Sometimes our pain points go all the way back to childhood.
What if I allowed myself to imagine a life that was more spacious and expansive than the one I'm living?
What if I don't have to live the same way that everyone else is living?
When you are authentic, your energy changes and the people around you change. It's just like doors just start opening. You're like, well, wait, how did this happen? How did this happen? How did this happen? You're showing up completely different.
And often it does require healing and going in some uncomfortable spaces before we can truly flourish.
Hello, and thank you for joining me for Let's Chat. I'm excited to have a dynamic group joining us for a very important conversation. We are going to be talking about creating space for conversation with a focus on social impact today. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up each of the guests, give them all a chance to kind of tell you a little bit about who they are, and we'll launch into our conversation from there. First, we have DARA BEEVAS. She is the writer, publisher, and co-founder of Wise Inc. Thanks so much for being here today. And then we have DARIO OTERO. He is the founder and CEO of Youth Lens 360. Thanks so much for joining me today. And we have Amanda Jacobson. She is a podcast host, a business owner, and a comedian. Thanks for joining us again. And Seangarrison, an abstract painter and writer. Thanks for joining the Let's Chat family. We have MCCOMB. She is the executive director of Art Is My Weapon. And last but not least, we have Nicole Passini, who is joining us today. She's an artist, photographer, blogger for Minneapolis Entréepreneur. Hopefully I said that right, Nicole. Well, wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us. And I'll start with you. If you could quickly tell us a little bit about who you are, and I'll make the rounds here, and then we'll get going from there.
All right. Well, it's PACINI.
PACINI.
But you got Entréepreneur correct, so I appreciate that part.
Thank you.
My name is Nicole Passini. I've been living in Minneapolis almost 30 years. I came here from Chicago. I have 6 children, 4 grandchildren. I am an avid supporter of Black businesses, women-owned businesses. I just really thrive off of helping and supporting other people. And so I use my platform to do that. And I'll talk a little bit about that today. Minneapolis Entréepreneur is a blog that I created, and it will be actually 10 years old this year. So
wow, that's awesome. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yes. And Nikki, would you like to go next?
Sure. I am MCCOMB, and I am the executive director of Art Is My Weapon. I also have lived in Minneapolis forever and ever. I am an artivist, and I use art to as a catalyst for change in the things that I do.
All right, wonderful. And Sean, would you like to go next?
So it's Sean Garrison. It's my art name. My government name is Sean Phillips. So I'm an abstract artist. I've been in Minneapolis for a while, from Detroit originally. Been here for quite a long time. And yeah, so a lot of what I do now, as far as art-wise, is create art that speaks to a social matter or that impacts folks to get them to think deeper. So that's kind of my wheelhouse right now.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining today. And Amanda, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Amanda Jacobson. As Shayla said in my intro, I co-host a podcast. It is called Wine and Crime. And through that work and that job, it grew my own personal social media platform, which over the last several years has transformed from a place where I shared pictures of my dog and my cat, who are very cute, but into a place where I primarily amplify voices of color and calls to action for communities of color. And I'm excited to talk more about that journey today.
Thanks so much, Amanda. And I'm scrolling down here. Dario, last but not least.
How you doing? My name is Dario OTERO, CEO and founder of Youth Lens 360. Youth Lens 360 is a video production company that harness the talent of local youth to deliver video production services and storytelling services for corporate, philanthropic, and nonprofits in the Twin Cities area.
All right, wonderful. Thanks so much for being here today. So Nikki, I'll start with you because it was my conversations with you and learning about your work with Art is My Weapon that kind of made me think that a conversation like this one that angled more towards social impact could be one that's both important, timely, and valuable to have, because the climate in which we're in right now, I think conversations like this one can only help. Because there are those situations where people are afraid to ask questions, or they don't know who to ask or where to turn. And art is a creative way to engage people and bring them into a conversation. Tell me a little bit about some of your work. I know you have an exhibit actually that's is it already on display, or the display is coming up?
It's on display. It opened last night at the Gordon Parks Gallery at Metro State University.
Wonderful. And I have some of the pictures that you sent me. I believe some of these are images that people could see at this particular gallery, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll bring some of these up and you can kind of tell us a little bit about the story behind them and what message you're hoping to convey through the work that you have on display right now. Here's one of them that you shared with me.
Yeah, this is actually a two-part series called Choices. And so it really just gives the example of how our young boys are given choices. The second part of it puts it together a little bit more, but you see the teddy bear in the book, and then these are actual weapons that were collected through a gun buyback with the city of Minneapolis and the police department. And I just, it's a storytelling photo to make community and people see that, our babies are given choices and they're not always the right choices. So anyone around them has to be able to provide something, a better choice. So it just gives the view of, what these boys are looking at and the choices that they have oftentimes put in front of them.
And here's another one that you've shared as well. Can you tell us about this one?
This was something that I did that there was an uptick in a lot of crime in our city, which is happening again. And I wanted to just put things in community and policymakers and legislators' faces to say that, we need to protect each other. We need to be with each other, for each other. Like Nicole said earlier, like supporting and doing for each other all the time. And so, the saying, my brother's keeper, is always, in different films and different poems and different things here. And so this is just a depiction of it. Not this is not how it works. This is not what we do. We have to do much better.
Yes. And finally, here's one more that you shared with me.
And this was also just another in your face, break the cycle of what it is in our community to be gun violence. Like, where are these guns coming from? Who's holding these guns? Why are they here? What do we have to do together as community and people and whomever to break the cycle? I know that's a huge question and it's a big thing to say, but it was just something that I felt at the moment and did it.
And over what span of time did you create all the images that are on display here?
Like 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
years, no, 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's several different series that go together that were created over on different issues, like gun violence and poor legislation and unjust laws and bullying and trafficking and all sorts of. So some of those examples are also in the exhibit.
And when you talk about art is my weapon, what do you want people to take away from that name and the work that comes from art is my weapon?
I mean, it really is. Art is a healing thing. It's a catalyst for so many gateways to change. Even just like doodling a thing is a time release for someone who might be stressed. Painting a thing, teaching someone how to cope through art is a thing. Like it's a therapeutic thing, and a lot of people, primarily our young people, they don't know that, and they haven't done it and they haven't experienced it. So putting it in people's faces is really just me saying, hey, this is a thing, you can like it. It might help you. And I'm saying that to everybody, the mayor, the police, the lawmakers, the young people, everybody that has two hands and two eyes, and even if they can't use all of those things, art comes in many different forms: music, dance, theater, video. Sean can tell you, everybody here can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to share a couple of comments that came in. Dawn Johnson saying powerful images, Nikki. And she says, I agree in the healing power of art. I know for myself, just throughout life, if I was feeling down, I would find myself wanting to make the most colorful, vibrant things when I was sad. And it would get me back to feeling good. And then I would tuck it away. And then you go through the cycle over and over again. And it wasn't until, even for myself, just deciding I'm just going to create all the time, whether I'm happy or sad. And then just the way in which you live and you show up is totally different when you don't just relegate your passions and your interests just to a certain box, and you just embrace the totality of who you are. I know, Sean, you've done some work as well with Art is My Weapon, but something that I learned about you that I thought was really interesting is you did the live painting event to capture just the sentiments and everything that people were feeling after the decision came down after Daunte Wright and Kim Potter's trial. Can you tell me, is that something that you've done before, or why did you choose to express and be a part of the moment in that way?
You mentioned the Daunte Wright and the Kim Potter live painting. That was the second one I had done.
Okay.
Yeah, I did one called Heaven or Hell that was centered on this painting that I did on the government center grounds.
Okay.
During the Chauvin verdict.
Okay.
But the reason why I utilize live painting, well, so the first time I did it was the first time I had done it, right? I'd never done it before, and those images are from the Cold Center, the Heaven or Hell show. Had never done it, just had this crazy idea. Let me try to, pull this off in an hour's worth of time to just speak to the way I felt in painting that moment when the verdict came in. and just go with it. And it was one of those things where it turned out, it was a powerful piece. It was almost shocking, to me anyway, because again, I had never done it before. But I imparted myself into doing live painting because it's a way for people to get away for the moment, even if it's for an hour, start a conversation. And, as I tell folks when I became an artist, to say what I wanted to say in the time I had to say it. So that's
And what if anything surprised you the most about, being in that space, the kinds of conversations that live painting sparked?
The most, the Q&A after the show is what was the most powerful piece. Because after the first show, Heaven or Hell, I think the Q&A lasted almost as long as the show itself did. And I may have had maybe a 10% of interest from the crowd, from the audience, but people stayed and we had this conversation. And that was stunning to me. Mm-hmm. People said, let's sit and have this talk. Because folks had questions. And they were some kind of way. Just based on, the soundscape, or whatnot. And it worked. So.
And for you, when you create or when you started to create, aside from these two particular pieces, did you create with the intention of sparking conversation, or you create because it benefits you and you feel better when you do, or what is your reason for creating?
Well, creating with with social justice or social issues at the core, I do that, one, to create conversation, two, to breathe a little bit on my end. When it comes to things of this nature, because, we go through a lot, and looking at the way justice has played itself out with respects to Black men and Black folks in general, historically speaking, I got to a point where I had to do something different so I could alleviate this ache that I had. And so the paintbrush was it. Mm-hmm. I still do things for folks, that look great above a couch, but this art, with social impact, so to say, has become more of my focal point, because I think people as a whole, we need an outlet and we need to talk, and art is a great way to get people to having a conversation. They're not really intimidated, and if nothing else, you can point the finger at me after the show. Because, as long as we talking, I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go to Dario next. Can you talk a little bit about your work and how you've been able to create space for conversation in the platform that you have?
Yes. So, I just reiterate what I heard from the two people that spoke before, NIKKI and Sean, who talk a lot about art, right? And I just identified a way and a vehicle to help young people be able to expose their art to the world. Through Youth Lens, we do a lot of corporate projects, but really working with the young people. And then what I see is a cross section between technology, art, and multimedia with an equity lens. We call it TEAM as an acronym that we use, but just really looking at, how do we help young people have a platform to be able to talk about stuff like gun violence, like NIKKI said, right? Make a music video about stuff that's stressing them out, maybe something that's in their immediate, something that they could do in their immediate grasp, right? But we also have another series that we're putting together called Amplify, where we're really trying to amplify voices of color in the businesses they do, much like you're doing here.
Did you find yourself, as far as starting your business, were you feeling a pull to create this space, or how did you find yourself in this lane?
Yeah, I was an educator, but before that, I used to shoot music videos. So I used to go travel down to Atlanta, no A-line artists, but B-line artists. And just like I found my passion and my getaway and being able to do that. And so when I realized there was no money in that hip hop music video game, I realized that I had to step my game up. And I saw an immediate opportunity as an educator at that time to be able to bring young people along that path, video production and YouTube and all that mixed together. So you just have to put the time in, and young people can take that tool if they have access to it and be able to tell stories to the world. And we tell them better than anybody, right? So when it comes down to telling stories, when it comes down to picking the music track, when it comes down to, taking a certain shot, we just do it better. And so the young people that I have bring so much fresh perspective and talent to the table. So it's never like a handout thing. We're a for-profit business, and people see the value that we bring every time.
And what are you seeing as far as the difference in the kids from when they go from the beginning of the process to the end? How do you see them grow and evolve because of the time that you're investing in them?
Yeah, I see the business acumen grow, but the talent is always there. It's funny because a lot of the young people in this generation grew up with an iPad, iPhone, some sort of way to tell their story in their hand. I'm just allowing them to be able to step into a lane where they can make money to do it and do it for corporate businesses. But the talent is there. I'm just, the stuff that we do that's really a secret weapon is I use NIKKI's art as my weapon, but as a secret weapon is really just getting them in the spaces, in the rooms, and the places that they couldn't get into themselves, and seeing that when they get to that table, that they're brilliant, and that the decisions they make, the ideas that they have can be used by bigger companies. And so once that light is turned on, you can't turn it off, right? Now you have a young person that realizes that everything they've been told in their life, art has been able to take them to the next level. Tech has been able to take them to the next level to be able to deliver their stories to the world.
And it really, in a way, helps to kind of shape aspirations, because if you don't see it, you don't know you can be it. And so just to show them what's out there, it creates space for them to say, maybe I want to be a part of the conversation in that room. And maybe it's a room they didn't even know was there before.
No, that's absolutely correct. A lot of times, it's about connecting to the pathways. Young people just haven't been exposed to enough. And so when they get exposed to stuff, they say, hold on, I don't have to hold the camera. I can actually be the writer. I can be the person who is doing the interview. I could be the person holding the lights. Or I might just be the person that likes to go to the networking event and get all the business cards. Whatever it is, that sales side comes out too, right? And so people just need to be connected to more opportunities to be able to shine.
And for you, when you think about how you started with shooting music videos and what you're doing now, how fulfilling is the journey you're on now compared to where you started?
Oh, wow. I would say I felt when I was younger, I thought I was doing something positive, but I was really putting more negativity into the world with the videos I chose to shoot. You can't look my name up or find any of my stuff because I was smart enough not to do that back then. But I think now is an opportunity for me to help heal the community, right? Like put out messages that are positive, allow young people to see that they don't have to take a certain lane in order to be seen and heard, that they can be seen and heard doing positive stuff. Most recently, we shot a music video around gun control as well, just just because a young person was going through something. And so we went from them writing a song to us shooting a video in 48 hours that we put out to the world, and got an amazing response because people were like, yo, I never thought about, putting more cameras in the community as a way to help with gun violence, right? Instead of shooting guns, you could shoot a camera.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. Nicole, something you shared the other day, and it caught my eye, and it kind of reminded me of, aspirations and dreams and dreaming big. You had shared some pictures of your items, and everybody rushed out to Target because they thought like we could go buy these now. And I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, I was like getting ready to text my friends and be like, oh, you could go to Target and find this. But I think it's so cool what you did because, that's how a dream begins. Like you have to be able to envision your work in the spaces that you want it to be. What called you to do that? And just to see all the reception that you got just from those pictures, and kind of forcing people to stretch their imagination and be able to believe like, whoa, like I could see her work on that shelf. I would go out and support what she's doing. How did that make you feel, and what drew you to do that?
Wow. I don't know. I love Target. I literally was just in Target. I had my bag. I had, my other stuff inside of my bag. And I was just, perusing through Target. And I was like, dang, it's kind of bland in here. Everything was so neutral toned. And so I put the bag on the hook with the rest of the bags and I took a photo. And I was like, I posted it. I did a video first and then I posted it. I'm like, wow, this bag really looks good here. But I kind of left it to the, interpretation of others I didn't say anything. I was just like, wow, this bag looks cute here. And then I intentionally went to another Target with like my mugs and my journals. And I went to the journal section and I laid all the journals out in the journal section. And I took a photo and I took my pillow and I put it in the pillow section with all the bland pillows. And I just posted all this stuff. And I literally had people like, hey, I went to 2 Targets. I can't find it. And I was like, and then I even had Melissa Butler. She owns the Lip Bar brand. And she even commented on my post on Instagram. She's like, sis, girl, I'm what Target? You know, I was like, oh my God, girl, it's not at Target yet. However, here's the link where you can kind of go purchase it. And so it was just a fun way to just vision my products in Target. I'm always a big believer of manifestation. And if you want to see things happen, you just have to visualize them in your own way. And that was my way of actually seeing my items in Target. So.
And I love that you did that and the courage that it took to do that, because so many people sit at home imagining their work in these places, but you took it there, you put it on the shelf so it didn't have to sit in your imagination. We could see it too. How did it make you feel, the conversation that your courage to go do that sparked? When you looked at those comments and you saw the feedback that you received, how did it make you feel?
I'm always inspired by that because I'm just a big believer of supporting other people. So when I see people reach back out and support me, I'm like, that's what reciprocity is. It's like you put yourself out there and other people will respond in the way that you respond to them. So to me, it was like all of the good that I've done and all of the encouragement that I've done and inspiring others that I've done, like it's coming back to me full circle. So it made me feel really good. And it also made me feel good to know that they were really at the store looking for the items. I'm thinking, like, really? Like, you went to the store? I was excited. I was super excited.
I'm sure that gave you goosebumps. I got goosebumps when you were just telling us
that.
I was
screenshotting. Sending, like, look at this. People are actually in the store looking for the stuff.
Yeah. I want to read just a couple of comments. I shared them a second ago, but Dawn shared, Nicole is a marketing genius. And Awesome shared, Nicole is an absolute inspiration.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, I love that. And Amanda, I'm going to go to you next. I've had you on a few times. We've shared so many angles and avenues of your lived experience, but I think it's so cool. You're very creative about how you draw people in to hear and to learn about stories affecting communities of color here. Sometimes you'll start out with an inspirational story. I think one that stuck with me was the story you shared about your dad. And then at the end, you really encouraged people based on certain attributes of his personality. Like, you know, you encourage them to pay it forward and do something great for someone else. Can you talk about, why you use your platform in the way that you do and the impact that using it that way has had?
Yeah, well, I mean, the only reason I have any ability to walk this work and practice this work, and especially rooted in anti-racism and social justice work, is from following Black women, following Black leadership. I got connected to Black educators in and around the country, namely Catrice Jackson, Shamika Hasoya, Jenny Elkanot, who's here in the Twin Cities. And I think I first off was approaching social justice work in a very, I know I was approaching it in a very white-centered way. It was like a fad diet, and I would participate in it in such a way that made me feel good. It made me get cookies, made me feel like a good white person. Like it was about appearances more than what it was about actually connecting with the work and leading with my heart. And so had to unpack a lot and humble myself a lot and unlearn a lot of behaviors that I'm constantly going to be unlearning for the rest of my life. But I think once I made a true commitment to that unlearning and unpacking, and a true commitment to be less violent in the world that I inhabit, then some of the work just kind of came naturally. Like, I believe in direct giving. I believe in reparations. I believe in supporting Black and Brown and Indigenous and Asian businesses. These are, things that are part of my moral foundation. And so you should be able to connect in your personal life to this work. It should be human first and foremost. And I realized that my platform is extremely white. The majority of my followers are white people and white women. And we as white women tend to be kind of toxic, like toxic feminism and, you know, uplifting and supporting each other. But it's actually pretty sinister and self-serving. And we support each other on the backs of a lot of other people, especially Black women. And so I felt like this was an opportunity for me to use my platform to share and be vulnerable about what I'm learning and kind of do my part as a white person to call other people into the work, because that's my responsibility. So that is how I got started on that work. And now here I am. And it's funny that you mentioned creative ways. Like, I recently was crowdsourcing for a young mom who's welcoming a new child. So I made something that intentionally looked like a baby announcement because I knew it would get engagement and everybody would freak out thinking I was having a baby. But if they just read the post, they would know that it wasn't for me. And that generated a lot of engagement and ended up helping set this young mother up for her new child. So it is just about knowing the algorithm, knowing the platform, and doing the work from your heart at the end of the day.
And what, if anything, has surprised you the most about the conversation that's coming out of the space that you're creating by putting these conversations out on social media and challenging the people who follow you to think about their energy and what they're putting into the world?
Right. I definitely see, we as white people contain every version of ourselves along this journey. So no matter how far into anti-racism you may think you are and how much of a student of anti-racism you may think you are always capable of just absolutely throwing everything you know and should know out the window and just activating your own internalized white supremacy. And I feel like one thing I've learned is how easy and comfortable that can be to do, especially when you get pushback. It would be very easy for me to just stop engaging and stop doing that work and to just move on with my life. My life would really not change much. And that is entirely white privilege. But for me to accept and almost not necessarily embrace, but at least acknowledge that folks who are pushing back against what I'm saying, I'm them and they're me. And that's something that I was taught by anti-racism educators. So once I see the humanity there, then I can just keep trying to do the work and trying to bring them in. And you're not going to win them all. Like, some people just want to be antagonistic, and there's nothing I can really do about that except for recenter my energy and keep moving forward.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. Dara, I want to bring you in. Something that you shared, because I know you participated in Share the Mic. And this is also why I reached out to you, because I read this. I was like, Dara would be so perfect to invite for this conversation. You shared, I'm committed to ensuring the story of this movement is claimed and documented by those on the front line. We have a duty to ensure the narrative of our social justice warriors, organizers, elders, healers, and youth are told through their lenses and in their own voices. Can you talk a little bit more about that perspective and the space that you're able to create and hold for people through your work with Wise Inc.?
Yeah. So Wise Inc. is a book publishing company, and I feel like writing a lot of what Dario was saying in his work with youth really resonates with me, because I feel that once someone has the opportunity to tell their story, it's transformative for them, but it's also transformative for us as Black and Brown people. And so Wise Inc., we publish folks from all ethnic backgrounds, but a lot of my work specifically has been wanting to elevate Black and Brown voices, making sure that not only am I going out and seeking and bringing people in and validating their story as important, as someone said earlier, our stories are dope and no one tells our stories like we tell them. And in the work that I do, oftentimes I speak to elders and people who they say, I'm not a writer, but then they start to talk about who they are, where they come from, how they cook, how, why they wear their certain outfit, certain way that they wear it. And, Black language is art in and of itself. And you hear our words, filtering into the mainstream, and you're like, wow, did that person just say my bad on CNN? the way that we speak is just so powerful. And, right now we can all probably agree that there is a reckoning happening, and we're having conversations that we should have always been having. And I feel like my calling, my little sphere of influence is to ensure that our story is told by us, and that we are, that our art, that our books, that our sermons, our poetry, that it's not being co-opted. And a part of my calling is ensuring that we all know that our story has the power to save someone else, and it also has the power to tell those that are not born yet what we did. In the last 5 or 6 years, as our brothers and sisters have been murdered by police, a lot of what I did was go back to Ida B. Wells and read our ancestors, to talk about, just to hear what they were saying and what they were writing. And a lot of what Ida B. Wells says is she went back trying to find the stories of the first generation of slaves who were emancipated. And those stories weren't written because they were too busy surviving. So that's why she wrote her autobiography. And so when I read that, I was like, wow, okay, all right. I got to make sure that we encapsulate this time, because we're going to probably have some other revolution 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now. And our descendants are going to be asking, what did Nicole, Nikki, Sean, Dario, Amanda do? And I want to make sure that they have a record of what we did and what we saw.
And something I saw as well when I was reading about Wise Inc. is you do make efforts through some of the programming, the fellowships and things, to eliminate some of the barriers that people may have for creating a book, writing a book. Financial barriers can take really amazing writers and shut them out. And so, creating space for conversation by eliminating barriers is an important piece of that work too, right?
Absolutely. Right now, Wise Inc. is a company of 8 people. And I always say, we're small but mighty. And one of the projects that I'm really excited about is Project Exodus, which is a reparations program. My vision is that even a company our small size can be an example for how reparations can work. So Project Exodus is a program that seeks to fund or help an author fund their project without their having to invest their own funds to publish their book. And they would be able to then retain all rights to their work as well. And, the publisher does not get a single cent from what they're doing. And the idea is that your book is actually a business. It can be a tool for you to tell the story, but it can also be a tool for you to earn income. And the sales that you make from the book, you can reinvest that into your next project, or you can, sustain your writing in perpetuity with it. So that's that's where my big focus is on growing that program and ensuring that we are making sure that people can have access to publishing, and that it is not just for those who feel like they are a writer or for white folks, that it's for us and by us.
And creating space for more people to make sure that their work can be heard and their voice can be heard. I want to share some comments quickly that are coming in. Dawn's shared, Black languages and art, so powerful. Excellent point, Dara. Awesome shared, yes, Dara, language is a key in our communities. We had another one come through. Amanda, when you were speaking, Dawn said, Amanda, tell the truth. Thank you for holding other white women accountable. And then Awesome shared, as a financial educator, I often have community members, adults and youth, create vision boards to express their financial goals. This conversation has really gotten me thinking about how I can pivot from vision boards to Canvas. How can I connect with Sean to explore this opportunity? Is that something maybe you could talk about, Sean, just a little bit? Maybe there's some things she's not thinking about that could make that pivot. Do you want me to put it back up?
Yes, please put it back up.
Oh, you got it. Uh-huh.
Well, one, I can connect with Awesome. I think I know where she is on Facebook. So we'll make that happen. I think as far as a serial dreamer, right? That's me. I think we all are. We're all artists. We just constantly have this thing. We're constantly dreaming about the next thing. You know, we think one dream may fade, but as soon as that one goes away, the no one sprouts up, and it's this constant thing. But it's just a matter of doing it, you know, putting the energy out there and creating a space for community members to create these things, so they can see beyond just today and see a bigger vision. You know, the way I see things, I don't see things in a silo. My it's like 720 vision for me, and it drives people crazy because my brain is constantly running on that. But as far as getting young folks and grown folks involved in that process, is just a matter of creating a space for that to happen, then starting the conversation and say, hey, let's do the vision board or whatever the case may be, and provide the tools to make that happen, and the time, you know, and that's quite often is the key, is the time. And we're committed to the betterment of humanity and the people. We'll put in the time, because the long-term gain it far outweighs the short-term effort that we put into it.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. I say for myself, sometimes I live in a constant state of what if. Like, what if I try this? What if I do this? I wonder what would happen if. It drives my husband crazy, but you know, sometimes he'll like take that journey with me to see what it is. But that's, I guess, what creative people do. You have to sometimes take the journey and see what happens at the end of it. That's kind of how this conversation series came about at all. And I want to share, Leah Danielle just said, y'all are so inspiring. Thank you so much for tuning in, Leah, Dawn, awesome, everyone who's taking time to comment. We've got about a little over 15 minutes left. If you are watching and you haven't commented, or something you've heard is resonating with you, certainly be sure to post that in the comment section below, and we'll be able to pop it up on the screen, or the participants can read it afterwards as well. So, you know, if something is connecting, give a shout out to the folks that you heard it from and let them know that what they're putting out there is resonating with you. Let's see. I wanted to ask, with 15 minutes to go, I kind of want to give everybody a chance to share. If everybody listening to this conversation takes something away from what you've contributed, what you've heard from others contributing today, what would you want them to leave with? I'll start with you, Sean.
I would want people to take away from this to be brave and be courageous and have the audacity just to be dope, period. You know, Dara said dope earlier. I was like, I love that word. Dope is like the word of the century. But in order for anyone to get anywhere, you have to start. And you can't be nervous looking off the edge of the cliff. You just have to, you know, jump, and the proverbial wings will grow on the way down. And so be brave, you know, be courageous. And as it pertains to social impact and moving to humanity, you know, when you comporting yourself from a space of being right, you can't be wrong. That's the way I see it. No matter what you do, you might make a mistake, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, you're never wrong. And so you just do it with this nerve and almost in this uber confidence, and just say, hey, I'm going to do it. And whatever happens is going to happen. And if I fall short, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to keep it pushing. But with all these folks I see here on this panel, and thanks, by the way, and knowing them the way I do, or knowing some the way I do, that's how we go about things. And so those who are dreaming, keep dreaming. Those who love humanity and love the people, continue to do so, and do what you have to do to make that happen. And don't be scared, you know, because fear will crush you. So,
or fear will keep you from moving at all sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. NIKKI, what would you like to add? If you would want anyone to take anything away from this conversation, what do you hope that they leave with?
I'm just like, my brain is in like all over the place right now, because something is happening to me because I'm like, wait a minute, Dara does this, and Dario does this, and Sean does this, and Nicole does this, and Amanda does this, and Shayla, you do this. And there's 4, 5, 7 of us here Like, we all have a thing. I'm going to say that I'm going to use the words Sean used. We need to build. Like, there's no reason why Youth Lens shouldn't be, doing some sort of filming of Sean's painting, next live painting, or, Dara and I are chatting about a children's book, and Nicole has her products out. I'm sure all of us have all of these different things that, build and connect. I just want to say build and connect, because you never know, what another person can do, or what you can do to help and support each other until you actually build and connect and have a conversation. And like, I'm moved.
And I love it too. I'm just watching all the conversations happening. Like, you do children's books? Oh my gosh, I've been working on a children's book. And, just all of the relationships that come out of this space, and all of everybody here is right here in the Twin Cities. And it's like, we're just connecting with our neighbors and learning how to grow and build and evolve together. So that's been the most awesome part of creating a space like this one. I'm going to go to you next, Nicole. But before I do, I'm going to share some more comments that are coming in. Don shared, love it. The audacity to be dope. Love it. My favorite word too, Sean. Let's see. Portia says, amen, Sean. In order to get anywhere, you have to start. Dope things coming from dope people to the entire panel. Awesome shared. If you never take a step forward, you will always remain in the same place. And Leah says, yep, build and connect, my next tweet. All right. Thank you all so much. And Nicole, what do you hope people leave with today? If they take nothing else, they take what?
Well, I want to say to you, Shayla, thank you for having us on this platform. It is a segue to many, many things to come. We never know how the universe aligns us, but we just have to be open to it. And then to your thing about doing all the things, I always say, just do all the things, right? Just do them. If you don't like it, or if it doesn't stick, just move it to the side. But I'm a big believer of doing all the things all the time. I even wanted to be a pilot at one point in time, and I flew a plane, and I was like, I don't want to do it anymore, but I did it, I did it. But these types of conversations do open up the doors for building and connecting. I get a lot of questions from people asking me, how did I publish my books, and how did I, do my products and things like that. And I can't always answer everyone's questions. So I just opened up a platform and did a Zoom call, and I just had everybody kind of come on. And just out of that small conversation with 5 other women, it was just so much that came out of that. And so it just leads me to believe that we just need to have more conversations like this, so people can know exactly what our friends are doing, what our neighbors are doing. We can have people that live right, next door to you. You never know, what they do or how you guys can build together. So conversations like this are always important. And then supporting each other, right? That's the biggest thing that I want to get across to everyone that's listening, is that we have to intentionally look out for each other. We have to intentionally go out and support people that look like us, right? So specifically, unapologetically Black people, women of color, women businesses, small owned businesses. We got to intentionally go out and look for those people. We got to spend our dollars there, and we got to continue to spend our dollars there. So not just one day, but every day. So I'm Black all day. Like I got Black hair care products, Black owned mascara. These earrings are from a Black owned business. My lip gloss is from a Black owned business. This is my t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not playing when it comes to celebrating our businesses, but we got to put our dollars there, and we got to support each other every day of the week, not just Black History Month. So that's all I want to say. But I'm just so big on that, and just having these types of conversations, Shayla, really will open up the doors for more of us to connect and build with each other. So kudos to you.
And thank you for being a part of it. And I think one of the most awesome things about it is I had this conversation on my calendar, and I wanted to add more people to it. And I was talking to NIKKI, and NIKKI was like, "What did you have? Did you have? Did you have?" And all of a sudden, people start taking shape. The conversation starts taking shape. I mentioned it to Dawn Johnson, and she was like, "Oh, do you know Nicole?" I reached out to Nicole. She's like, "Well, you know Sean," and so I was like, "Bring everybody." And so it's just so neat to see, you know, what happens when you bring people together for a common conversation, and then together we're all discovering different things about each other that we didn't know the other person did, and how, you know, just having this 1 hour conversation is creating opportunities for people to work together, to grow together, to create together. And, you know, if my small part in it is just creating this space, then, you know, I'm glad to do it. Amanda, I'll let you go next here. If you could share what you hope folks take away from this conversation, what do you want them to leave with?
I mean, I guess to build off of what everybody has said so far, there's no platform too small to start using it to make an impact. And something that I've noticed is that, like, liking and sharing and amplifying calls to action, those are all actions that are free. And, you know, if there's, I can really only speak to any white folks that might be watching or listening from home, but if there is a call to action you come across to support a Black-owned business or to pay reparations, and there's a little voice in your head that just says, like, well, I don't have much and this dollar won't matter anyway, so I'm going to keep it. Your dollar does matter. And to commit fully, one of the first things that I learned in this work is that you're going to fail and you're going to mess up and you're going to cause harm and you're going to do it over and over and over again. And you're going to learn every time you do it and try to do it less the next time. And you just have to stay in it. Like, don't be afraid. Like Sean said, be brave, be consistent. You know, like Nicole said, like, be in it for the long haul, and you'll see the ripples start to happen in your own networks.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Amanda. I'm going to try to get some of the comments coming in, and then I'm going to go to you, Dario. And Dara, you can take us out. Let's see. We've got a few coming in here. Awesome saying, show up strong in support of each other. Dawn's sharing, yes, be intentional in all things, especially being laser focused about supporting Black people and businesses 365, 24/7. Dawn, this conversation is fire. Shayla, you are a dope connector. Portia, build and connect. Absolutely. What people don't understand is you're not expected to know everything or even required. Testimony and transparency is a powerful thing. Leah sharing, biggest struggle I've been having in the Twin Cities as a business owner, supporting each other. Love to have a discussion on intentionally supporting each other. I have faith that it'll get better. No competing, but connecting. Build and connect and support. Good discussion, you all. And Don sharing, yes, Nicole, we need to be intentional in all things Black, support Black people and Black businesses. Dario, if people leave with anything today, what would you want them to take away?
So I got two things. I'm gonna make it quick though. First one is I got a phone call, well, LinkedIn message from a major voiceover distributor in New York, and one of the things that they said just resonated with me because I heard Dara speak, and she talked about Ida B. Wells and her story and getting those stories out there. But this voiceover person said, we're looking for Black voices. Our voiceover work has been 100% white. And since George Floyd's murder, 40% of the requests now coming in are for Black voices. That doesn't mean that they have to be certified voiceover vendors or anything. They just need Black voice. So even just stepping out, when we talk about stepping out, step out and just use your voice in that way. You could be a voiceover artist tomorrow and put your voice out there and market yourself as a voiceover artist because people are looking for there's a demand for that right now. But one of the things I want to just leave us with is exposure. That word resonates with me as well. And I just want to encourage everybody, whether it's us here or people that are watching this platform, to get into our schools. Young people are in our schools right now and they're suffering, and schools and teachers are suffering, and they want us there and they want us to be able to tap into our schools and talk to them. Much like Sean, I grew up in Detroit as well. And I always got to see Black doctors, dentists, lawyers, people that worked at, everywhere from Ford or Chrysler or whatever. I didn't always see negative stuff. I saw a lot of positive, and I knew I could do it. And I was exposed to a lot of stuff. So even though I was a failing student in high school, I knew I was going to make it. And that's what our young people need, right? Like they need to be able to step out and see that there's many different options, there's many different things. And you don't have to wait till like 30, 40 to get exposed to something to be able to build that confidence. We need to be able to give that back to young people in our schools right now.
Such a great point. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see, real quick, Dario, I've got a couple of comments here. I think this is, Dawn is saying, holla, she says, I can do voiceover work. All right, sounds good.
You can.
Yes. And then let's see. Tawanda said she tapped in late, but what I've heard so far I love. Well, you'll be able to watch it right back once we finish up the live stream. You can watch the recording right away. Thanks for tuning in. And then Portia sharing here, Dario speak the truth, and awesome. Right on, Dario. Last but not least, Dara, I'm going to give you the final word for today. If nothing more, what do you hope people take away from the conversation that we're having?
I'm just going to have the two things like Dario. My first tip is to honor your idea. In the work that I do, a lot of people have been sitting with their idea for a long time, and they just have that little self-doubt that's like, should I do it? I want to do it. The fear creeps in, which is completely normal and natural. Honor your idea. I believe that we are given our ideas as storytellers and humans. Those ideas are sacred. So honor your idea, whatever it is, your business, your book, your painting, whatever it is that you feel like you need to create, honor it. That doesn't mean you have to go follow through with it, but honor it, write it down, talk about it, give it life, speak it out loud. So honor your idea. And then the second piece of advice I just want to leave everyone with is be patient and gentle with yourself. With anything that you're divinely asked to do or called to do, just be gentle and patient with yourself. I'm sure everybody here will tell you that paintings, businesses, podcasts, organizations, all of these things were built over time, little baby steps, and there are setbacks. And honor your idea and be patient and gentle with yourself. It took me 5 years to write the picture book that I just released last year for my baby girl. 5 years. So that's my last piece of advice. Honor your idea, be patient and gentle with yourself. And thank you so much, Shayla, for having this conversation. This was amazing.
Well, I'm so glad that you all joined me. And I just think it's beautiful to see what happens when you bring people together to have a conversation, to see where it leads and where it goes. This whole platform started, it was originally an idea that I had, and then I just kind of sat on it. And then I had some people last summer that I wanted to connect with that I really had not had a chance to have meaningful conversations with. And so I spent about an hour with each of them that week off, and I could hear the themes emerging in all of their different experiences. And for each of them, they were all on their own individual journey to living their most authentic life. And so it was all the ladies you heard at the beginning in the intro. And I said, wonder what would happen if I bring all these ladies together to have this conversation. And it was such a beautiful conversation, and everyone left feeling so connected. And they said, like, I want to stay in touch with these ladies. I want to, build whatever this is. And so, it's just been such a beautiful evolution to bring new people into this space to have conversations. And as a new person in Minnesota, trying to meet people and network in a pandemic, this has just been a way to connect and get to know my neighbors, because I don't want to be reaching out when I need something. I want to reach out, now and get to know you when, all I'm reaching out for is a conversation. So thank you all for sharing time and space with me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you hang on, I'm going to catch up with you in the backstage area of StreamYard. And everyone watching, thanks so much. And I'll see you next time. Take care.